What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today's video we have a little thing to do to the car today. It is definitely one of the smallest mods we have ever done to the FRS, but it's very important that we get this done, or at least start to work in this arena, given that we threw the living crap out of the belt on the very first drift day with the FRS. I still do not know exactly what caused the belt to throw. I don't know if it's the tensioner, the idler pulleys, not sure between the two of them. I went ahead and checked the alternator spins freely, water pump spins freely, the AC condenser spins freely, there's no drag on them, so that really leaves the tensioner, the belt, or the pulleys. So let me show you guys these sweet little pieces that I got from NonStopTuning to address these issues and hopefully solve the issues altogether. Alright guys, so what we have here is the idler pulley kit from NonStopTuning. They're a pretty small company, USA based, that makes, you know, all sorts of different idler pulleys, also different products for different chassis. They are drift oriented, which I thought was really cool, that even the owners, I believe, or one of the guys who works there, he has a FRS or BRZ, he drifts his as well. And it's really cool to see people putting their parts to use out there. So we ended up going with their idler pulley set. It only comes in this one color, not a problem though. And one of the special features, or I think one of the coolest parts about it here, is, as you can see, if it ever focuses, it is a serviceable bearing, as you can see there. So you can pop those clips out, replace the bearings if need be, and you can keep the metal shells. That way it makes this, you know, a pretty long-lasting solution compared to the OEM. So if you take a look at the OEM set, it is very much the same thing. It's a bearing-contained pulley, or it's got a bearing inside of this pulley. But the difference being is these are not serviceable. They will die out at some point. And my intuition here is that some of these bearings aren't as good as they used to be. And also, potentially, the tensioner is just old at this point. This is a 90k mile motor, so for all I know, I probably do need a new tensioner. But we're going to start with the pulleys first, see if that fixes the issue. If not, we'll jump up to a new tensioner. But from what I've seen, these tensioners go bad pretty rarely. Now, another step we're going to take here is we have a Gates RPM belt. So this here is actually the same size that comes stock on the car. It is just a much beefier belt. It's got more heat resistance, that kind of thing. So this should do better in our scenario with the turbo and all that. But I will say, I think a normal belt should be able to hold up to what we're putting it through. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the replacement belt that we did on the side of the road at OSW. We're going to keep this one on the car, see how the new pulleys react, and then we're going to keep this Gates belt as a spare for the track. And I think going forward, I'm probably always going to have a spare belt with me for track days, etc. So we're going to get to swapping these pulleys out. It is a pretty simple affair. All you need to do is just get your belt loose, get it off of the pulley tension. Then it's one bolt here, one bolt here, one here, one down there for that last idler pulley. And obviously this will be much easier for you if you don't have a disco potato sitting there. But in our case, it actually hasn't been that bad because all these little fancy doodads that we added in the turbo install. These quick disconnect lines and everything, it bolts back in so quickly that it's really easy to do things like this. The only install note I'll mention is just make sure, just like the one with the logo on it, that the clip faces outward. That's not necessarily a must, I don't think, but it's probably good to have a good view of that if you can. Also, the only other thing to note is on these old ones, there's a kind of bearing cover, or just a general cover for the pulley. You do not need to reuse these covers. worked down. I could not find torque values for the idler pulleys whatsoever, so I just did good and tight, you know. And I also got the belt back on. One tip for getting the belt on these cars, and I think most Subarus probably work this way, is go ahead and get the belt aligned all the way on every pulley except for this top one. Then this will be the last pulley that you slip the belt underneath. And there's like just enough room to do that, but that's how I do it. It's never too much of a fuss. If you do it that way, just make sure you're aligned on everything else and you should be pretty good to go. Guys, I believe we are all set here. It is all put back together. And the two pulleys here, I did notice, for the tensioner pulleys, it actually didn't have any issues. But the idler pulleys, both of them, definitely, if you can hear that. So yeah, hopefully this helps us out. Maybe that was the issue. We will find out. I'm just gonna test out the car now, make sure the belt doesn't slip off or anything right away, and it should be all good to go. Alright, so I think it's safe to say that the belt is working, since the water pump appears to still be functioning at this moment, and I don't smell any of the horrible smells I smelled when we burnt it up the last time, or hear it literally self-destructing in the engine bay. It could be some placebo, but I will say overall the car does feel a little bit smoother, so maybe those old bearings were kind of playing into a little bit more of a wishy-washy feeling in the belt. So that's gonna be it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. More to come very soon. Unfortunately, couldn't install our new radiator, which just came in, just because we're waiting on the hoses that come along with it. But we'll be getting those very, very shortly, so we should be able to hop onto the radiator next, which is very exciting for me, at least because I think it will involve some more custom stuff. If you're aware of the intercooler setup at this moment, it's very close to the AC condenser. So we're just gonna see how that all works out when we get there. But that's gonna be it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed. Catch you on the next one. Peace.